Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
That quiet quitting, that was a big term that started happening, I think right around the COVID, when that term started becoming really popular. But it's exactly what you said, is that they'll come to work, they'll punch in that time card, they'll actually be sitting at their desk, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're at their best and they're performing. And then you have the other end of it where, because it's on a continuum, right? That whole thing isn't either they're quiet quitting or they're not. It's a continuum. And the other end of that is somebody who's actually sabotaging their workplace. And sometimes they don't even know that they're actively sabotaging. You'll have the inactive who are doing more passive aggressive because they're just angry at their boss, or they don't like the supervisor, or they don't agree with the president or the organization. People really don't check their emotions at the door when they walk into work. They bring it in with them. They bring their whole selves, including things that are happening at home, with them at work. And sometimes, and I think this is one of the challenges of supervisors, we expect them to check it at the door.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and author and the founder of the International Awareness Integration Institute. Welcome to today's episode, where we dive into an evolving world of leadership, supervision, and workforce development. We're joined by two dynamic thought leaders who bring decades of experience in organizational transformation and human potential. Dr. Behnam Bakhshande is a powerhouse, is a personal and professional development, a writer, speaker, coach, and business strategist with over 30 years of success helping individuals and organizations thrive. As the founder and the president of PrimeCo Education, he has led transformations initiatives across industries and authored more than 10 impactful books on coaching, leadership, and high performance. Joining him is Dr. Eileen Zabareya. She's a certified professional in talent development and senior partner at Rothwell and associate with over 27 years in learning and development and a PhD in workforce comparative international education. Eileen masterfully bridges academic research with real-world situations. She's authored over 10 books and is a champion of translating theory into impactful practices. Together with Dr. William Rothwell and Azar Hajiri, they've authored their latest book, The Organized and Engaged Supervisor. It's a timely guide on how today's leaders and supervisors can optimize resources and manage employee experiences with clarity, empathy, and adaptability, and more than anything, balance. So stay tuned as we unpack the insights on leading through complexity, engaging multi-generational teams, and navigating the future of supervision and heart, and with the heart into the strategy. So I'm excited. I learned a lot, and I hope that you also learn a lot from this segment. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube channel and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, or any of the social media platforms. Share your thoughts with me. I'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, here is Dr. Eileen Zabareya and Dr. Behnam Bakhshande.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness.
I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it.
I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foujan Zain, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
It is such a joy to have the two of you back on our show, Dr. Eileen Zavarello and Dr. Behnam Bakhshande. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Dr. Thank you very much.
Well, the reason that I have the honor and the pleasure to keep having you, because you are writing these books in the organizational development around the series that you're writing, and there's a purpose into that series. So, Dr. Zabarello, I'm going to ask you to start with that and share how come you guys decided to put this in a series of books.
Well, the whole book itself started way back when. This is actually one of Dr. Rothwell's first books that he actually started writing. So that's almost 25, 30 years ago. And, you know, it was one of the books that he didn't actually publish, and he's always wanted to publish it. So we had a couple of teams go through this and try to figure out how to tackle this massive project, because the book would have been probably about 700-800 pages based on what he had. And then Behnam and I came on, and we were kind of breaking it down and looking at it, and we subdivided the key components of it. And one of the main things about the book is about supervisors, and supervising people now is really complicated. If you look at the way supervision was before, it was a lot structured around manufacturing, what the manufacturers do, and the whole idea of making sure that the line is smooth and people are doing their piece of the work they need to do. But it's so much more complicated now. Workers and the work itself has evolved quite a bit. And so what we had done was we look at the different components, and we created kind of like a pie. And in this pie, there were 8 pieces, right, Behnam? I think there are 8 pieces in this pie. And we were segmenting it and looking at how do we look at supervisors from all these different dimensions and different perspectives. And so from there, we actually broke the book down into 4 different books. The first one, which we published in 2023, which was about inclusion, being empathetic, and being relational. So it was all about the relationship that the supervisor has with the employee. The second one was what we're doing right now, which is the organized and engaged supervisor. And that's about finding the balance between making sure that your team is on task and they're completing it, and you're organizing it because you have a lot of people to manage. But at the same token, you're still able to promote the engagement of all the employees. And then the other 2, which is going to be coming out sometime next year and the year after, is the one that I'm working on right now. It's the agile, innovative, and resilient supervisor. That one focuses a lot on the whole idea that work looks so different today than it does tomorrow, and nothing's static anymore. And so you have to be able to be adaptable and be able to be innovative at the same token, and then also still be resilient because things are changing so fast. And then the last one, this is the one that Dr. Rothwell wanted to make sure that we included, which is all about ethics. Ethics is a really big concern and challenge these days. So that one, the last book, is focused on the value-based of what it means to be a supervisor and making the choices through a strong value and ethical position.
Thank you. So today, actually, we're going to kind of focus on the organized and engaged supervisor, optimizing resources and managing employee experiences, which is Dr. Behnam Bakhshande, you, Dr. Eileen Zavarello, Dr. William Rothwell, and with also the support of Aza Hajri, which this book is out now. Dr. Bakhshande, go ahead.
Well, there is a lot that we can talk about. When people hear organized, they immediately think of being tight and being systematic. My desk is organized, my kitchen is organized, or my drawers are organized. In some shape or form, when you bring the element of supervision, it makes sense to be organized. But what would be inside that element of management and supervision? In our book, in this book, we divided in three major segments to a supervisor can be organized. One, let me go back a little bit. For an organization to be successful in organization, not as an organization as operation versus organization as all the elements fit in the right place for that success, for that supervisor can manage and be success. One is a strategic planning, which is mostly done by senior managers, right? Or board of directors or combination of executives. And then come to coordination planning, which is done by middle management. And then come to operational planning, which is done by supervisors. Now, you simply said, so what if we have a strong strategic planning and coordination planning, but if it's not implemented and if it's not operational, it's all waste of time and resources, right? So an organized supervisor bringing all these elements together, right? To make sure a strategic planning coordinated and implemented correctly. Now, you can go to a very small business of 5 or 6 people. Maybe there is no even supervisor. Maybe the owner or whoever running the business start managing the whole thing. But when you get into more complicated organizations, little larger organization, regardless of the size or nature of it, which is corporate, is a family business, or being organized and using the resources for organization need a lot of nature of organization, being organized, and be able to engage the team and members to be organized, getting them engaged. On the chapter 2 of this book, we talk about what is the process of organizing. I'm just going to read it directly from the chapter 2 of figure 2 of chapter 2. Determining activities. What activities need to get done by team managed by supervisor that guarantee the fulfillment of that strategic planning. Dividing activities. Okay, how the supervisor going to divide this series of activities between different teams that they are coordinated and not stepping over each other's toes, as per se. Then grouping common tasks. As you dividing activities and tasks among departments or elements of a company, some of them is repeated. So it's supervisor's job to look at all these activities and eliminate what is double work or stepping over each other. It's waste of time. That is what an organized supervisor can make a difference in bottom line of production and performance. Assigning similar tasks. If there is a similarity among the tasks, a supervisor shall assign a task to more relevant organization. Now, again, as I am speaking, I would like to listeners to not relating this to only their company versus is a formula for success for organized supervisor. One might say, well, my company is not that big or I don't have that many departments, but you are there assigning tasks to your employees. Make sure they are not similar, and if they are similar, who's accountable? Who's the project manager for that task?
So you're saying whether this is just a mom and pop business or even a 1 or 2 person show, which is called, a personal business or professional business, but you're still assigning tasks to people you are outsourcing, let's say, or
yes,
you're getting. all the way to global corporations with
Exactly.
thousands and thousands. So the structure that the two of you and other authors have put in, it's usable for all of these levels because
Exactly.
the structure is given to you.
It's like gravity. It's useful for everybody to know. If you don't honor gravity, you get hurt. So anybody who read this book, anybody who honor us for purchasing this book, they can apply the elements and concepts and discipline and processes and practices to the nature of their business. They can eliminate some, they can customize some. You talk about resources. The next step is determining resources. How much resources organization have available? Budget, manpower, physical space. Do we need to rent anything? Do we need to buy anything? Do we need to outsource any of them? Is this all job of a supervisor in that department? Then clarifying priorities in these resources. Okay, let's say me as a supervisor, I'm managing 3 projects and my manpower resources is limited. Which one of these projects have a priority to fulfill that strategic planning? And then the last one is allocating resources based off their knowledge and their experience of that resource, human workforce resource, and what we need to actually outsource or do it in-house. So we can talk about all these things, but I'm going to bring organizing to relate to engaging. If you pound on people, on your workforce, that need to get done, and this is the deadline, they are avoiding you. Dr. Zavarolo talk about the new workforce, the new nature of organization, the new nature of workability. Look at the biggest number one challenge that organization dealing with is a shortage of labor in different levels and every category. These days, anything that Eileen sent me or Dr. Rodwell sent me and other co-authors sent for us to read, including yourself, Dr. Foujan, you sent article. What is the number one they're talking about? They have a hard time finding people. Gen Z don't want to work. People leave their work because of their managers, not because of organization.
But also, I think I sent you this document from Gallup that had done this survey globally, and the amount of engagement on employee engagement and supervisor engagement were at the lowest.
Yes,
not interested. They were just not interested, and they're not engaged. So, can you share, both of you? Can you share a little bit as you're doing about how to get people engaged?
Yeah, Dr. Zavalora, please.
Well, we could talk a little bit about what you're talking about, that Gallup poll. There's another one also, which is the World Happiness Report. Have you heard about that one? Right. So the World Happiness Report, I mean, Bhutan was one of the first countries to actually look at that and look at another way to measure a country and a citizen in the community's well-being or success. And we always look at financial. What is the GDP? What is the GDN? And I think one of the things that Bhutan was saying is that doesn't necessarily tell you how well the community is doing. And so the Gross National Happiness Report is what he started implementing. And from that started the World Happiness Report. Now, the U.S. has actually continued to decline over the past 4 or 5 years. And a lot of it, I mean, I think this is something that we all have to check into. And, Dr. Foujan, with you and your background in psychology and everything, we have such a strong emphasis in our community about what success looks like. Yeah. And it's all tied to these different sets of metrics that don't necessarily measure how we're doing here. It only measures what's in our bank account, what's our degree, what is our position. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing okay. And that World Happiness Report is a really big tell in regards to what's happening in our society. And it ties back. And so when we're tying it back to the worker and we're talking about engagement, I mean, people are not just disengaged because they don't like their boss, which is a big reason, right? Don't get me wrong. A lot of times people are going to quit their job because of their bosses. But people are also disengaged because it's such a, I mean, the tone around us sometimes can be very contentious. Even talking about politics with your colleague could end up being a really negative experience. And so there's so many more complex social things that are happening that really becomes something that's important for even supervisors to consider. Because when we're looking at being able to optimize someone's performance, it's not whether or not they have the competencies to be able to create the widget. It's also, is this person in the right place, in the right job, in the right time, being able to perform at his best because he is actually doing his best. And we don't ask those kinds of questions anymore. We're only asking, what is his output, right? And I think we have to, and I think that's one of the things about this book. And, Dr. Benham had really talked a lot about the organizing part. And a lot of times that's what we expect the supervisors to do. I want you to make sure that your 10, subordinates that you're working with, and I always hate that word subordinates, but the people that work under you are at their top performance. And so that supervisor a lot of times is not trained in the skill sets to be able to do that. They may just have been a very productive employee at some point and then get promoted. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to engage, promote, or even inspire somebody. Work isn't just how many widgets I can make within an hour. It's really about, am I making this widget with the best ability that I have? I might only make 2, but my 2 might be better than Benham's 10. So there's a lot of different measurements of what we have, and we have to look a little bit deeper. And I think in that sense, and so this book really looks at, yes, look at organized, but the balance, it's a fine balance. And the way we have it structured in the book is, it's like if you imagine being on a seesaw, right? That it's constantly, sometimes when you're so focused on just the task that needs to be done, you can completely overlook the human side of the job itself. And this is where we're really trying to say, we have to look at both at the same time.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things that I've constantly have come across because of doing coaching or therapy with employees or managers, some people's character is more in tune and they can have the highest productivity because they do a task and they master a task. They don't like change and they like it that way, and that's how they create productivity. And if you push them too much on change and growth, they freeze, and therefore they're like, that's it, I'm not, and then they disengage because the change actually scares them. Now, on the other side of it, we have people who love change, and if you just gave them a mundane, do this every day, they'll master it and then they get bored with it. So if they're going to keep asking for growth, and something that you were saying, Dr. Bachand, when there is a policy that comes in from the top management that says, let's look at productivity, let's look at this thing, and anybody who's at the bottom 20, it's going to get laid off at the end, and we'll bring in the next group, or push, and do all of these things. Or when there's a new administration that shows up and changes everything. For example, they've hired people to be like non-sales customer service people or production people, and then suddenly the books are going down. So the next administration comes and expects everybody to suddenly become salespeople. And that's not their forte. So that's partially also what I've seen with people's engagement getting caught, which is like, okay, they don't see me, they don't understand what my needs are, and I can't do anything. I'm just going to do the bare minimum and hold on to the job, not being engaged in it, just hold on to it because I need a salary until I find something else. So then you have all of these periods of, and then because of their age or other situations, they might not be able to leave the company to another company, and they'll just stay non-engaged with minimum. That's one of the problems that I've seen, actually.
They call that quiet quitting. That was a big term that started happening, I think, right around the COVID, when that term started becoming really popular. But it's exactly what you said, is that they'll come to work, they'll punch in that time card, they'll actually be sitting at their desk, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're at their best and they're performing. And then you have the other end of it where, because it's on a continuum, right? That whole thing isn't either they're quiet quitting or they're not. It's a continuum. And the other end of that is somebody who's actually sabotaging their workplace. And sometimes they don't even know that they're actively sabotaging. You'll have the inactive who are doing more passive aggressive because they're just angry at their boss, or they don't like the supervisor, or they don't agree with the president or the organization. People really don't check their emotions at the door when they walk into work. They bring it in with them. They bring their whole selves, including things that are happening at home, with them at work. And sometimes, and I think this is one of the challenges of supervisors, we expect them to check it at the door. How can you do that? Because you're almost asking them to check half of themselves at the door. And that means they're going to only show up partially. And so I think, it's so much more complex than we even realize. And so the added part to it, you had mentioned like a change in leadership that happens all the time, right? So then these people who are working are all of a sudden now have to adjust the way, the new policy, the new work and new things. But now you have AI, right? And that's upending everything, how we do work. All of a sudden there's new policies, new processes. All of a sudden there's somebody who was working with me is now doing something completely different with a different title because AI was now doing Joe, who was sitting next to me's job. Is that next one going to be doing my job? There's a lot of uneasiness that people are also having. So there's that emotional context that people need to be aware of when it comes to their teams and the people they work with.
Yeah. First, let me go back 10 minutes when you both ladies talking about happiness. I couldn't help to think about happiness in marriage. As you know, Dr. Foujan, I have done in my career a lot of life coaching, couples coaching, as you do also. And mostly on the husband's side, like, I make a lot of money. I buy her everything she wants. She have all sort of luxuries. She have a gorgeous BMW. She go to Europe every summer. What else you want from me? Like, well, communication, intimacy, respect is not a bad idea. Just because company gives salary or even bonus or even a stock share, it doesn't mean the employee is happy. So, as Dr. Zaballaro mentioned, is a human nature. We don't leave our emotions by the door. And one of the elements that I find very effective for managers and supervisors is they show respect, they show compassion, they show empathy, they provide recognition for what these people have done. They make sure underline, we know you spend more of your day here with us versus at home. That make an employee get more engaged, which is Dr. Zaballaro knows. Several chapters of this particular book is about employee experience. When you say employee experience, people just go to what they experience while they're working. It's much more than that. It has so many different angles, so many different elements. Having a shared vision with these people at work. It doesn't mean your team have to be completely 100% aligned with the organization vision, because it's impossible. But shared vision could be, okay, inside this organization vision, what do you see for yourself? Inside your personal goals, inside of your career planning goals, what of these values that made that vision apply to you? And a good organization, good supervisor who engaging, pay attention, write a note somewhere. When you're talking to Behnam, what do you want to mention? How Behnam perceive respect? How do you perceive respect? What Behnam would consider recognition and acknowledgement versus somebody else. So again, there is a lot to talk about, but without managing and being sensitive to employees' experience, engagement would not happen. And without engagement, organizing, planning is not going to happen. So it's kind of, the title said organize and engage, but the approach is literally 180 different: experience, engagement, and organizing.
One of the things that I know I have experienced myself throughout the years that I've owned and operated many businesses, or I was in management, I was in hospital management, outpatient hospitals management, and I owned my own nonprofit organizations and clinics. One of the experiences that I know I've had, which is going from, one extreme pendulum to the other, which is, first, as I was just learning how to do this, it was more about how to get the organization and the top management and the C level policies down to that group. So it was more only regarding the tasks to be done. Then as I became a therapist and I learned all about, how to take care of people, I know I went all the way to the one side of I was being a caring, I was being a therapist for them, I was at times even being a mommy for them. And it allowed a lot of this concept of, allowance for complaints to be shared. But I, at that moment, did not know. It was more like just, taking care of their emotions. However, what happened was that if their job performance was not well, the other side, which was going to also come in and hold accountability, now because of the caring part wasn't coming, or when I was showing for them the accountability, they were getting upset with me because this therapist mommy person was taking care of their emotion, and then suddenly it's like, well, the results aren't showing, and then so you had to be the other side. And then I remember at one point, like, production wasn't happening, things were not happening. So then I got angry and I went to the other extreme of, now you hold them very accountable, and like, I don't want to hear complaints. I don't want to hear the gossip, da, 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 da. So I know that within, 40 years of going back and forth in management and ownership of companies, come back to what you shared, Dr. Zaverio, about finding this balance. And I think that as people come in, they're not, to become a supervisor, or they were an employee and they got promoted to a supervisor or mid-management level, and they don't have these experiences of balance. And a lot of people go from one extreme to the other, trying to figure this out. Some of them, they were, friends with the other employees, and then suddenly they rose up to be even their bosses. And then, so this is part of the struggle that I've gone through, and, hopefully I finally managed this balance. But this is something that I consistently hear in mid-management level. I'd like the two of you to share a little bit about this concept.
So here's have you ever, the golden rule, right? What's the golden rule?
No, you tell me.
Do unto others as you want them to do unto each other, right? And I think the problem is, or do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, right? So we always reflect it back onto us. I'll do to you what I would want you to do to me. The problem is, what you want may not be necessarily what I want. Exactly. And so, I think more and more people are talking about the platinum rule. And the platinum rule really requires us to get to know and understand the people that we're working with. There's no formula. I mean, we're saying there's a formula here in regards to follow this book, but in all honesty, there really isn't a formula, because every single team that you supervise, every single team that you work with, every group that you're around, an organization is going to be uniquely different. And I think this is where we really do emphasize the importance, especially nowadays, about adaptability. As a supervisor, I got to say, I think these days, one of the most important competencies that you can have is adaptability. You have to be able, even on a dime, because we don't know from day to day what's going to happen. We know that right now with this current, U.S. administration, how things are constantly changing. We look at the market. In businesses and people that you work with, so many things can happen. Your top performer can suddenly be sick. Your worst performer can all of a sudden be inspired. Things are constantly changing. And if you're assuming that there's a set formula and you can't understand why these people are not fitting into your formula, then that's where it becomes a struggle. If you can try to come in with more of an open perspective. And, we come from an OD approach. The OD, organization development, is really about let's try to figure this out together. Let's figure out what your expectations are and let's align it with mine. And together we can figure this out. But if I'm only doing it one way and then we're only doing it the way I think supervision should be, then there's no wonder there's a lot of tension and a lot of resistance. I cannot supervise Benham the way I want to be supervised. Benham has to be supervised the way it works for Benham specifically. Vice versa with me. You can't supervise me the way Benham wants. And that's, I think, one of the things that I think it's easy for us to go to. This person wants, and this is kind of where you're talking about that person who, is a strong performer, but doesn't like change. He wants a space and he doesn't want all these changes. But here I come in, I'm like, oh, I want to motivate you. I want to inspire you. Let's change it up. That completely throws a widget into their own system, right? So I think one of the most important parts of it is getting to know who you're working with. Find out what they need. What are their strength points? What are the things that's going to inspire them to want to be better, and also what inspires them to, perform?
And the challenge in what Dr. Zabelero just said is it's a differentiation between generations at the workplace. Most
That's a whole another conversation.
People in my age, they are task oriented. We learned that. Get the task done, shut up and deliver, right? But then you come to Gen X, which is more hippie looking, more take it easy.
Oh, I'm not that hippie, but okay.
But then come to new generation, right? In the same book, we talk about how we can compare task-oriented oriented supervisors with the people-oriented supervisors, right? And task-oriented supervisors, usually they're looking at being productive, they're goal-oriented, they are detail-oriented, they are organized, they are firm, and they are accountable, and they're authoritarian. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, right? I remember in military, our sergeant who said, shut up, you have 2 minutes to fix this. And I don't want you to cry about it. Get it done. If not, you're going to be here with your entire team whole night. No mercy. So, but people-oriented supervisors are caring, show care. They're collaborating, what Dr. Zabelero mentioned. How you and I, we can work together. How you and I can meet in the middle so we can get the task done. They are empathetic, they are understanding, they are encouraging, they are empowering, and they are approachable. Some old folks, they think, older generation think if they be cut and dry, people respect them more. Say that to Gen Z, say that to new generation. They don't care. They come and put the time card as soon as they find another job with better pay. So I give this one a chance. Maybe I get a better person. So as Dr. Zabelero mentioned, there is no one size fit all. There is no formula. A formula for success is like a dance. If I'm dancing with you, I have to dance with your style. I have to watch your toes, not step over it. I have to go with the rhythm, not the rhythm I want, versus the rhythm is there, already exists, called the organization culture and organization strategies. So I think it's a very good book for supervisors or managers to have their hands on and pick up what works for them and leave whatever doesn't work for them and be useful.
Beautiful. Is there anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know about the engagement part of how to engage your employees, or how to engage? Because I think a lot of the supervisors in the middle are also in the issue of being the middle person. So it's not like they create the policies. Sometimes the buck doesn't stop with them. So they kind of like get sandwiched in the middle, because they might have the experience of engaging with their employee, knowing what that employee wants. But then as they take and want to take, the support of this or that employee and take it to the next level of the C-suite, it gets shut down, or vice versa. They might know something about their team, but there's a push from the top C-suite that says, no, it has to be done, so you just have to shift it, and I don't care. So there, you're also talking about this, with large companies, you're talking about the mid-sandwich, the group also. Any ideas about that?
The series of this book is all about supervisory leadership, right? The word leadership. And we're not looking at leadership. And I think a lot of times people go to the old notion of leadership, do because I tell you and follow me ideas. And the way we really look at leadership is that you really have to model it. And I think in that sense, in regards to your being a supervisor, what you have in your team often is a reflection of how you are being with your team. If you have people who are being resistant, probably 95% of the times, you're also demonstrating some resistance as well. And I think it's an important piece for us to look at how we are with our groups and the people we work with and really take on that accountability. It's so easy to point and say, that's the person who's doing it. That's the one is the problem. When sometimes all we have to do is look in the mirror and really take in and check in. Now, it doesn't mean that you hold it on it, because it's already hard enough to be a supervisor these days, especially when you're talking about the sandwich, because you have the people on the top who are trying to implement all these things, and then all these people in the bottom who are below you, who are you're trying to inspire, and it can be very exhausting. But I think part of it is that find some joy in the people you're working with, because if you're not enjoying who you're working with, they're probably not going to enjoy working with you either. And I know, there's some differences. I've worked with some people who, they may have a lot to complain about, and they may be really not having the best salary, best job, but they come in and they're excited and they're motivated. And that's it's contagious. And as a supervisor, your emotions, what you bring in is contagious. And it also is going to reflect on how people are going to work with you and also perceive you. And that always comes back. I just think it's always a reflection back on you. And it's important to be accountable.
Thank you.
Dr. Benham?
Yeah, I was looking at obstacles in the way of people's employees' experience. One is the business as usual. Supervisors or managers that say, hey, this always work, I come and do it again. They are not open to any new approach to engage people or have experienced the change. It's so funny. A simple please and thank you make a huge difference in people's experience.
Yeah.
And many supervisors take it on, and I saw the difference. And some people, no, I'm not here to please people. I'm here to get them done, right? And then they're wondering why the department always looking for new people. Absence of recognition for simple work, starting with a thank you, acknowledging what they have done. Because if they were not doing it, who else would do it in that team, right? Unreliable employee engagement. People like us go into organization with some one-way formula and tell organization, you have to do this to people get engaged. Not necessary. What I love about OD approach is the interview process with data collecting and focus group, reviewing historical document, give us a actually realistic picture of what these people from bottom up looking for, what they call engagement, what they are striving for. Limited resources. Company cannot ask for so many new approach without providing budget for it or time for it or availability of external consultant and coaches to come and do it. We do all respect to HRD staff in any organization. If you could do it by yourself, you have done it by now. Why your organization looking for outsourcing, bringing people like us in? Because whatever you do is great for whatever you do. You need more access to more resources. Lack of communication and feedback, especially positive feedback. Dr. Ralph and I and two other co-authors writing about revolutionizing performance review. Why? Because in last 50, 60 years, performance review has not changed and feedback has not changed. It's so inauthentic and it's so outdated. Come with some realistic an intimate conversation with people till they feel they hurt. And missing technology. I am not a technology person. Dr. Zabelero is, and I respect her. But don't ask me to alter the video, alter the picture. I am ignorant and quite frankly, not even interested, right? Because I'm not good at it. Now, if she has spent 1 hour with me, show me, this is the way I learned, right? Show me technology. I experienced being cared for, being respected, and my co-author care about me. She is spending time teaching me because I'm an older school, and watching is one of my learning approaches, right? Supervisors can do the same thing. Unfortunately, most supervisors are under pressure of higher management for performance and productivity, because higher manager look at the budget and numbers. And if they cannot produce that, what they do? They lay off people. That's the first action they do, which is really like getting an axe and cutting the tree of engagement and experience. So there is a lot to talk about, but we are grateful for your time, giving us to express ourselves.
Absolutely. Everyone, get this book. If you are in a small company, large company, as long as you're a supervisor or a leader, this book will really, really enhance your soft skills and hard skills. The organized and engaged supervisor, optimizing, let me put my glasses so I can read, optimizing resources and managing employee experiences by Dr. Behnam Bakhshande, Dr. Eileen Zabarello, Dr. William Rothwell with collaboration with Aza Hajri. And I'm sure that you could find this book in Amazon. You could find it in Routledge. So it's everywhere for you to have. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And I'm positive that we'll have you back again with your third book in this series. And thank you for the time that you've allowed us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
And for all of you who are out there, if you liked what you heard, please share it with everyone. Give us a rating so that we know you liked it. If you have any other questions for Dr. Bakhshande or Zabarello or myself, please communicate that with us. Create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
When I join Anabasis Academy, what do I get and what I don't get?
What do you get? What don't you get? You don't get a certificate because certificates never guarantee prosperity. You don't get generic so-called practical advice and recipes because you're unique and they hardly ever work. You don't get a bunch of shallow motivational nonsense because the only one who can motivate you is you. You will. You will get provoked and you will get fresh perspectives to consider. You'll get to activate your mindfulness, to tool up and move up, to discover your talents and gain confidence. And like all other remarkable people, if you engage and act, you will get a uniquely yours opportunity to evolve and shape your future.
Visit AnnaBazesAcademy.org. Explore the difference, experience it, and make a difference.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foujan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing Awareness Integration Therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.